Welcome to the live stream, everybody. Bitcoin has been, to put it, volatile as hell. That hopefully that nuke didn't catch you by surprise. Last night I did a video going over Bitcoin's in danger. What other videos did I have here? I feel like there was a new one. Yeah, this terrifying chart and talking about why I think that 28K is actually a very reasonable possibility for the price of Bitcoin. And just starting off by looking at my weekly chart here, this is the chart that actually made me bearish. When was that? In June? June 13th, I believe. That's the date I keep saying. That's the day I did a stream with you guys. And at first I kind of said it as a joke that like, hey, check out this bearish theory here. And the more I looked at it, the more it became obvious that it was in fact very likely to play out. And unfortunately, that structure hasn't changed. If you're bullish, I mean, absolutely at any point. I mean, let's face it. There is 3 days left in this weekly candle. It could absolutely just fucking turn it up from here, just moon and engulf this bearish candle here and all that sort of stuff. Sure, you know what? It can happen. But that's what everybody always says when they FOMO into resistance. Well, what if it breaks out? Yeah, if it breaks out, then we can start playing the retrace from the bullish side. As it stands right now, on the weekly, the daily, and even the 4-hourly chart, when looking at macro ranges, we have not set a higher high. And let me repeat that. On the 4-hour, we have not set a higher high in 8 months since March. And I know a lot of people will argue with me about that because, yes, there's absolutely smaller ranges inside the range that have been, higher highs or whatever. This compared to this, for example. But when really zooming out and looking at my macro structure, we have been inside of this range ever since we bottomed out at 49K at the start of August. So any of this is just chop inside that bigger range because as we set a lower low, that confirms our lower high. And as we kept doing that, I mean, so far we have not broke this 70K lower high and we have not broke this 49K lower low. Generally speaking, we've had the exact same bearish scenario. If you're a swing trader and you're missing this, then you're too heavily emotionally involved in just expecting an all-time high breakout. If you're just looking at basic structure, this is a very healthy chart. I'm sorry, actually, this video may trigger some people because I almost feel like I'm going to end up being a little bit rude for people who don't want to hear my bearish side. But just because every day this is looking more and more bearish and I have so many people arguing with me and stuff like that, and that's totally fine. Listen, if there is valid reasons, I'm all for it. But if you're just reaching every time we jump, hey, this bullish thing is happening, we drop again, hey, there's this bullish thing in the charts, we drop again, hey, there's this bullish thing. Maybe you're putting more weight to one signal in the way that you emotionally want it to go and ignoring 10 or more big red flags in the opposite direction. I know it's totally natural to want to grasp to whatever idea that you're currently holding emotionally and just fundamentally how you think it should go. But when really looking at it for what it is, I mean, we just set a lower low. This is where everyone was getting bearish, right? They always get bearish. Everyone wants to short into support and long into resistance. I even said, I think both of these tops here, I said, or sorry, not even the tops, when we bottomed and broke structure and we set our lower lows, I mentioned, watch, once again, everybody's going to get FOMO. So just saying it, no matter what's happening in the news at this level, it's going to seem bullish, and that's totally normal. Everything always looks and sounds bullish into resistance, and then all of a sudden that changes, and then everyone goes bearish into support. And I totally get it that when these floors drop, because that's how everybody learns, right? Is that, hey, this structure broke to the downside, it's time to short. No, it broke to the downside. It's time to start looking for shorts. And that's where we look for these pullbacks. And that's why I religiously use these Fibonacci's. And every single time I talk about, I think the price, well, actually, I shouldn't say that because in this group, you guys have obviously seen how I trade and you've been looking for these and calling these out for yourselves. So absolutely fantastic to see that. I really hope that it's helping your trading game. But I mean, in person, to just, social media people, people on Twitter, all that sort of stuff. I just find that so often people will argue with me that, hey, if we go back to that level, that's going to keep going. And it's like, well, yes, but it feels like that every time. And that's why I look for that level. And that's when you start seeing liquidation levels start opening up to the opposite direction and stuff like that. So I totally get it. And, as I warned from down here, I said, if this is a short-term reversal, I'm expecting to end up running into resistance at the Stuber fib, just like every single swing here. Look at that, right to the 886. And that was when I said, watch for bullish things in the news, in the media, stuff like that. Everyone's going to get FOMO into resistance again. The Trump speeches were happening at this level. Absolutely perfect. Sell the news event. This was the hype going into it. And then this is the sell the news event. Absolutely perfectly playing into the Stuber fib pocket. Then I warned again, watch for, after we got our 49K bottom, it was actually this one. I did call this beautiful reversal here at, 52.5K. I said, again, I want to be clear about this. I am not bullish. I just think that there's a good chance that we bounce because, for one, we never did test this macro Stuber fib yet. Notice that we got very close, but we never quite made it. And this run, we did end up hitting that level, but notice we never even made it to the 886. We made it halfway between the 786, 886. So far, this is actually the weakest attempt that we've had into that pocket, and this is the fourth time that we've had the same bearish reaction at that level, basically. We have this main support resistance flip area with this yellow box here. We have this upward trending red support line flipped into resistance perfectly on this shorter time frame. Well, actually, something else I want to mention is look at how the market is dumping, right? This first dump to the downside, it was very controlled. And when we came down to support, we got a nice pump. The next one even, fairly controlled, but getting a little steeper. This last one was absolutely straight down once certain levels dropped, right? Now what happens is all of a sudden we approached this resistance with even more weakness than we'd seen, like all these bullish rallies here, these dead cat bounces, even reaction rallies. They were fairly straight up, just like, at least the same kind of velocity as the downside. Whereas this one, we came down here and we're just kind of struggling to get up there. And again, never even made it to the 886 and seeing weakness basically all over the place. The ALGO master indicator, the signals have shifted to the downside. That's a little more additional confluence. Liquidations, they're starting to open up to the upside now, but there is still more to the downside. So anything goes with that one, basically. The auto charting tools, this does print things like higher highs and higher lows in the smaller ranges like this. But again, I'm looking at the macro ranges. We have not taken out a lower high and set a higher high on the macro time frame since, well, where was the last time we had one? Back here in March, right? So, but as far as the smaller ranges, yes, absolutely. It's possible that we're setting higher highs, higher lows. But notice that even already we did technically get just below the higher low. Yeah, just kind of wicking below. But we did actually set a lower low. And I think a lower low signal will print here for a few candles down the road. Here's the thing. If we do get a bounce here, because once again, right, after you break support levels, everyone's going to be trying to FOMO short the breakout here when, the entry was up higher. But, now that we broke structure again here, it makes total sense that we would get some sort of a reaction and climb to the upside a little bit. And that's actually, the reason why I said to the group that I was taking a hedge long. I called this one out live. Hopefully some of you guys caught it because I just saw reasons, we were seeing the wave master was looking bottomy. Just the fact that we sold off with so much force there, starting to find a little bit of support, just having a hard time breaking it. I figured it was a good time to just place a little bit of a hedge long. It's only about a fifth the size of my short position because I am still bearish. I more so want to catch that big short move, but I was just open to the idea that it was going to have a short-term reversal, right? That doesn't mean I'm bullish. It means I'm playing the chart for what it is. And that's something when I'm talking about the weekly chart and how everyone hates to think that it could be possibly bearish. That's the difference, right? I don't care. Even though I'm trading against my own bias here by being in that long position, because I have zero problem putting my emotions aside. And it's very relaxing and rewarding. You know, the fact that I've had no FOMO for all-time highs for months now. And I'm also, you know, I'm not upset if we do hit all-time highs. That's the difference, right? I'm not going to get wrecked if we climb. I still have 85% of my portfolio in spot, and I can trade my trading direction if we do break that structure. It's just that right now, specifically as a hedge to my account, my portfolio, yeah, as the price of things are dumping, yeah, my portfolio is getting its ass kicked too. That's the thing, guys, is I understand that it's very possible we go much higher. I don't think this bull market is over yet. I just think that it's possible we get some sort of a crazy black swan, very quick final flush out where the big players actually get to fill their bags at the prices they actually want. Everyone's under the impression that October is a free ride. How's that working out so far? And on top of that, they're expecting things like BlackRock and all these kinds of multi-billionaire kind of people are all of a sudden going to start FOMOing into all-time high prices on assets. That's not how they made their wealth. They get into things. They have a lot of patience. They wait for the levels that we are too impatient to get to. And a perfect example is telling people that, hey, we're bearish from over here, but every time we'd bounce, it'd be, oh, the bottom's in, the bottom's in. Everyone got so impatient. And that's the thing. When I'm talking about these levels that, you know, if we drop to 28K, for example, I think it will take months to happen. And I want to be clear about this right now. If we do drop from here, if we do nuke, I totally expect us to get some sort of a strong reaction rally around that 42, really even 44 down towards 40K. I really think that we'll get a strong reaction rally there. And make no mistake, you will instantly see posts the bottom is in, because a lot of people are watching that level. It is the only other real level that had any trading on the way up in the recent past. This one doesn't really have a heck of a lot. So yes, we absolutely have a range here. It's super obvious, and on a weekly level, yes, I totally expect some sort of a bounce there. The thing is, that is a new lower low. So people are going to, mark my words, get very bullish as we approach the new structure swing, right? Because then this will be a confirmed lower high if we break that 49K bottom. And in which case, wherever the price ends up bouncing from, I'll be looking at it with a Fibonacci on the weekly, and I will be looking at that level. And make no mistake, people will be getting super FOMO-y. All-time highs are coming very soon. All that nonsense, that'll be the exact same as the last 4 bearish swings that we've had that I talked about on the 4-hour chart. It would just be the same thing over and over. And obviously that trend can change, but it hasn't yet. And I'm not going to trade the trend as, hey, this might reverse at some point. Yeah, it might, but until the structure changes, my opinion will not change. So that's kind of my thoughts on the longer term. I mean, I kind of went over this a little bit in my video last night. We also have a sell signal on the weekly on the ALGO Master. I don't want to take this lightly. I don't treat these like gold on every single time frame, but notice that we have a very good backtesting rating on the weekly chart. I have this currently set to sensitivity 1. It has a win rate of approximately 89%. It's had 2 losses, basically, or 2 scenarios where it never played out, and those were kind of in the middle of that last bull market top. Other than that, every single one of these sell signals to the beginning of time for Bitcoin, those sell signals have triggered us to go down to the 786, 886 Fibonacci pocket. So when I say that, you know, I think that's a very valid target, and people say, no, that's not possible, this market cycle's different. Understand that, yes, this market cycle is different. This market cycle was different. This market cycle was different. This market cycle. Every single market cycle was completely different and had bigger players. Down here, we just had the nerds who were farming crypto and actually understood it and were in it for the tech. After that, we have retail getting involved with this this market cycle here with that 2017 altcoin market cycle. Yes, that market cycle was different. But you know what? It still came down to the 786, just like when it pumped after that. Yeah, there's way bigger players in the space now because retail is just totally getting on board with it. We still came back to that 786, 886 fib pocket. These Fibonacci's might look a little funny because this is the logarithmic scale, just so I can kind of fit everything without zooming way in and shit like that. But every Fibonacci pull after a market cycle, we come back to that 786, 886 after the sell signal. Even when we got our COVID crash, and yeah, we absolutely came down. We actually went slightly lower than the 886. And yes, a lot of people have said to me, well, that's different. That's COVID. Yes, but the indicator, like I said, every single other time before that, when it triggered, we go down to that Fibonacci. And this called it about 2 months in advance before the COVID dump. So it was already in the chart. The indicator already called it out. It happened. So it is what it is. Our last bear market, where did we end up bottoming out? Pulled this Fibonacci. You can see that it's in line with the previous market cycle bottom. Notice we come back just below the 786 and then bear market over and we climb to the upside. Now we get that other sell signal. So, I mean, yes, absolutely. There is one sell signal that never did that. So maybe this will be the second. It doesn't have to happen, but this is something I was already looking at these targets for months. And this is just added confluence, basically, to me. So yeah, it's just looking at it as, does it make sense? Well, yeah, the indicator agrees with me. On the weekly, we still have our lower low structure. Every one of these little market structure breaks here, let me just show you where they all were. Here was our first one. And I am going by wicks because it is the weekly. I could go by the candle bodies, but it would be the same thing. But I like pulling Fibonacci's from wicks, so I'm going to leave them. Actually, just to show you how much clearer it is without wicks on, you can see that this is where we actually lost structure, right? So when I say we haven't set a higher high basically since March or whatever, like this is where we lost our higher low structure. And we have not changed that structure since, right? Set a lower low, another lower low, that confirms this as our lower high. Then we get another lower low, that confirms this as our lower high. Now we have to see what happens. If we set another lower low, then this would be our lower high. But again, I want to turn the wicks back on because I like going from exact levels. So each of these red lines is basically a structure break. That's where we lost our higher low, we set another lower low and another lower low. And just look at how these Fibonacci's play out. I know people don't want them to play out the same on the weekly for whatever reason. Whatever reason, people treat the weekly completely different because they can't fathom the idea that markets go both directions and they take a while to play out. But I trade these setups on the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the hourly, the 4 hourly. Why would I treat the weekly any different? In fact, when I took this short this morning, from way up here at this level, actually, I was already in a short from right over here. And then after we dumped, rather than updating my stop loss to break even, I ended up just adding to my position. So I did drop it by just barely at all. I had taken some profits along the way, but then I added back in. And my reason, basically my initial reasoning for taking that short in here, I just want to zoom in. I know I just posted this in the chat, but some people who are going to see this later aren't in the chat. So here, let me just remove drawings. Let's compare, okay? Because a lot of people have been sorry, actually, two things. I'm getting ahead of myself here. First, I was going to show you these Fibonacci's, right? Because we set that lower low. Where do we end up getting rejected? Right in that Fibonacci pocket. From there, we set another lower low. So let's pull the fibs from the lower high. I know for a lot of you, this is probably repetitive, but it's important. Down to this lower low. Where do we end up getting stopped? Or rejected rather, right in that Fibonacci pocket again. Candle body's not even getting into it, right? Just candle wicks going into it basically. Set a lower low. So let's pull from our confirmed lower high. down to our current lowest low. Notice once again, we have our candle bodies right against that 786. We got one wick into it, looking weaker than ever, and just a Stuber fib rejection. So I can't be bullish on this chart. I just can't. Anytime I started getting a little bit bullish coming into these levels as we were coming up to resistance, because there was actually still not too much retail long, so I was willing to consider that this time might actually be different. But as soon as it started to look weak, we lost the 786, I immediately flipped to back to shorting, because it was just I had warned us and myself in every one of these streams. The reason I love doing these streams so much is because it's basically my trading journal. As I talk through it, it's a lot easier to stick to my plan when I talk through it and I mention something like this every single week with you guys. Yes, it's repetitive, but that is so that we really drill it into our heads that nothing has changed. No matter how it feels, it always feels like this time's different. It isn't until it is, right? That's all there is to it. So back to now our structure and how things look, and just comparing things. Basically, here is what I was thinking. When we were trading up at these levels here, I was looking at this range as, what do you call it? Distribution range. And so this is something that I want to talk about because I've had some people telling me that it looks like we're in an accumulation range on the weekly. The thing is, accumulation ranges and distribution ranges generally look very similar, and people will just kind of go to whatever their personal bias is because, hey, yes, we're trading sideways. The thing is, guys, is we were trading sideways while setting lower lows, okay? There's a difference between trading sideways and setting lower lows. This isn't just a range. This is a trend. So it's a rangy trend, right? But at the end of the day, these are lower lows. So I was looking at this as distribution. I literally messaged some people this morning and I said, I am going short here because the 1 minute chart looks like the weekly chart. So that's a little backwards compared to how it should be, because so often you'll more so look at the longer time frame and be like, oh, I've seen this on the 1 minute a bunch or the hourly a bunch or whatever. I was looking at the 1 minute and said, basically, I'm so bearish on the weekly chart that when I saw the same chart on the 1 minute, I went short. Now, this is where, so I was talking about us obviously finding support at that 42K range, right? Or 44 down to 40, basically. Here's my thing with this chart, is this chart looks basically exactly like this chart to me, where I think that the weekly is going to do something very similar, where basically we drop, we bounce again, everybody starts getting FOMO, and then we take that further downside, and it is just a trend, right? And notice, where do we end up getting stopped? There is bang on, right? Just pulling from the top of this distribution range down to where we bottomed. Look where we end up getting rejected, right? So here's your warning right now. I'm going to repeat this many times in the future, but here is day one. Here is your warning. If the weekly chart drops towards support, and again, a bounce is obvious. That does not mean the bottom is in. That means it's a reaction rally at the only other place that makes sense if we do drop to the downside. But be warned, we still have a series of lower lows in that case. And I really think that we are still, if we get that bounce, I still strongly believe that we are going to get much lower. This obviously does not have to happen. If the chart breaks lower high structure on the 4-hour daily weekly chart, I'm open to the idea of changing my tune. It's more important to be able to react than predict anyways. These predictions are very helpful because then if I know what to expect and it looks like it's actually playing out that way, then I can judge from there. But really, if the trend changes, because this is going to take a long time to play out, and that's another thing, right? People aren't going to understand that, just because this doesn't happen in the next few days, it's a weekly chart. A few days it wouldn't even be one candle, right? So like, I'm expecting, if this does even play out, big if, a lot of what ifs between now and then. it would take months to play out, right? Because it's the weekly chart. But honestly, the way this range looks here on the weekly chart with those lower lows, distribution range, again, looks very similar to accumulation, but we're setting lower lows along the way. And we compare that to how the 1 minute chart looked at the same range type of thing. I mean, how does this chart make you feel? It starts to feel very real. And I know a lot of people will say, well, the 1 minute and the weekly are different. Structure is the same. This is something that a lot of people have a hard time with, but just because these numbers are bigger, that's subjective, because what's a big number to me might not be a big number to you, or vice versa. A dollar amount does not matter. What matters is the percentage moves and structure, honestly. And I've been saying this recently. I have a bad habit of, when I do these streams and my own videos, of saying, you know, at this level or whatever, because I don't actually say the price levels, and some people are watching on their mobile devices or while they're driving, they're listening, whatever. And I understand that's kind of frustrating, but I don't really look at price levels until I'm actually taking entries, targets, take profits, stop losses. That's when I look at the numbers. Honestly, when it comes down to time of me doing my analysis, I don't give a shit what the numbers are. And all I'm looking at is structure, and structure on the 1 minute acts just like structure on the 5 minute, the 1 hour, the 4 hour, daily, weekly. It all acts the same. And if anything, a weekly chart is harder to change the momentum. If this is the type of setup I'm looking for, I would say it's actually more likely to play out on the larger time frame than on the shorter time frame. One thing I do want to mention is this does not have to happen, because really, as it stands right now, where our range is currently from here down to here. So with this rejection, I mean, the first Stuber fib target is around the 214, which is around 54K. So that is kind of my range target, that if we do start setting higher lows, they aren't confirmed until we set a higher high above 70K. But if we are going to get some sort of a bounce and it does turn into a higher low, then, I still expect that we would get somewhere near 54K at this point. Again, there's 3 days left in this candle. It could absolutely engulf and turn bullish. Then I readjust, next week. But the thing is, right now, it just looks like a typical setup. If this was a 1 minute chart or a 5 minute chart, I would be taking a short with 69x leverage, as I typically do at a classic Stuber fib. That's all there is to it. That is my favorite setup to trade. And the thing is, yes, the first target is here, because I always play the range that I'm entering on first. And if this is my Fibonacci that's pulled, this is the range that I'm playing. So therefore, I want to be starting to take profits at my range take profit. And the 214 sounds like a random number, but it's basically the opposing 786. And since that's typically where I'd be looking for longs and that kind of thing, if I was bullish at those levels, basically just front running that a little bit in case the market does reverse there. But my second target, I would be looking at the entire swing Stuber fib. And unfortunately, what a lot of people don't want to admit is even possible, that Fibonacci is this green box here at 28 down towards 22,000 US dollars. Feels very unrealistic now, but if this was any other time frame, that would be my second target of this type of a short. Again, just ignoring all the numbers here, because at the end of the day, I only give a shit about structure. I don't care what these numbers are. Numbers don't matter. Just looking at structure, that would be my second take profit. So take it for what it is. Doesn't have to happen. So many things could technically happen on the weekly, there's so many possible things is the thing. There's wars are escalating. There's hurricanes happening all over the place. Uncertain elections. There's so many things going on right now that could impact the price. But honestly, I'm looking at it as those are all things that look like they could turn into a black swan event at any minute. So I'm not looking at it as more so, and if the structure changes and then something bullish happens in the fundamentals, that's different. But the charts don't have anything backing up the bullish side right now. So Honestly, I just feel like so many people are grasping at absolutely anything to try and hold that bearish thought that we're going to all-time highs, because everyone looks at crypto like a free ride to a lottery ticket. Um, Anybody who's been here for more than one entire cycle, you know damn well that this is not a crypto capitulation. What is it, from the market cycle high down to where we bottomed there so far, 32, 33%. Anybody who's been here as long as me, or even more than one full market cycle, you know damn well that Bitcoin can be way more volatile. And yes, if this is your first cycle and you keep hearing this cycle is different, this is a super cycle, there's all this money coming in, yes, but every market cycle takes significantly more money to push the price, because there is a way higher market cap. There's not only is the price up at these levels, but you got to consider from last market cycle here, there is significantly more Bitcoin in circulation. Because yes, even though the halvings happen and the mining gets cut in half, that doesn't mean the supply got cut in half. It means that it's just we're getting more of them slower, but we are still getting more of them. And to hold it at that price, there's obviously significantly more money in the space. To say this cycle is different because there's bigger players in the space, every single cycle needs a new wave of bigger players before you could even have a similar type of market cycle, right? And every market cycle gets a smaller percentage because it takes so much more money. And also consider that those big players also have access to leverage, so they can they can push the price a lot easier than we can. And in my opinion, the bull market isn't going to start until they get the prices they want. We're not going to moon the price. If they don't want that to happen, it won't happen until they get their orders filled, kind of a thing, in my opinion. So yeah, sorry to get a little ranty. I know I probably sound a little almost angry compared to normal. I'm trying to help and show, I'm totally open to the idea of getting bullish again. I'm not a perma bear, I promise. I was a moon boy basically since the capitulation of the FTX collapse. At that point, I figured, where even, oh God, where am I? Oh, this is the Blofin chart. Whoops. Where was the bottom? Yeah, down here, where FTX collapse happened. Everybody was looking at this as, oh God, that's the second biggest exchange to go down, and it got shut down or whatever. Oh, this is so bad. Yeah, absolutely. It was bad fundamentally, but I had the same people who are arguing with me now quite often are the same literally a couple of the same people who were arguing with me when I was bullish down here. I'm getting very similar vibes on social media and everything to my approach of how I'm looking at the markets right now. I'm getting very eerily similar responses to when I was against the most people down here. I remember, I believe me and Max were actually discussing the one day after the capitulation happened that, maybe this is some weird bearish twist that it's going to do something good for the price. And our reasoning for that was everyone was so scared of exchanges crumbling because there was FUD around so many exchanges at that point that everyone started pulling their crypto offline. Yeah, that sounds scary. It sounds like everybody's panicking, but everyone was panicking to secure their assets and they were pulling them off, which meant nobody's selling anymore, right? So at that point, we were looking at it as this is going to cause a supply shock. And that's what led us to this bull market that we're currently hopefully still in, right? So just getting very similar vibes across social media and stuff like that. It just feels so similar to me. Just unfortunately, I'm going the opposite direction this time, right? But again, you have to understand that with trading, no trader knows for sure, right? That's the thing. I could be very wrong. I don't have a clue what the market's actually going to do because the market doesn't give a fuck what I think. All that matters at the end of the day is whatever happens, I want to be ready to react to it. And that's exactly why I said that I took a hedge long before, right? So I got myself into, oh, I don't know, where did my short position go? I guess I gotta reload this. I probably erased a bunch of shit. There we go. So basically, I'm in a beautiful short, and as well, I ended up getting into a beautiful hedge long. It's a lot smaller than my short, because I am so bearish, and I don't think the dump is done. It's just very possible that we end up getting some sort of a bounce from here, is what I was thinking. So just to secure myself, I took some profits on the short, entered a hedge long, and we're right in the middle of the two right now. And I'm in such a relaxed position right now because it doesn't matter what happens. The only thing I risk right now is dipping into my profits a little bit, but all I can do at this point is lock in more profits. So I don't care. If we go up, we go down. I really don't care. That's the thing about being a trader, right? You have to understand, anybody who's an actual good trader knows that they might be wrong. It's the people who come at you that are so certain that this can't happen. That's a huge red flag. Anybody who says this can't happen, or I know this is for surely going to happen, I don't listen to those people at all. At all. I give zero credit to people who have 100% confidence. If they're not willing to even consider the fact that they're wrong, they don't know what they're talking about. That's my approach, basically. Go to the weekly and invert the chart. Let's do it. Oh, look at that support. Do you know how bullish people would be if we were setting these higher highs? I understand that it looks like a flag, but understand how that structure is changing. Yeah, people would be so incredibly bullish with this setup. Just want to see something. This is going to be some random freestyle analysis here. Let's check out a few things here. Yeah, people would be so bullish with this. Falling wedge, finding support, setting higher highs. Let's invert the scale. Oh god, rising wedge, lower lows. Yeah, I don't know. Again, obviously anything can happen. We could absolutely do something like this. Then my opinion changes, right? All Bitcoin has to do, and here's the thing, right? So many people are not willing to change their bias. All Bitcoin has to do for me to change my bias is break the downtrend. I personally think it would be easier if it went lower to end up breaking that downtrend, because right now it has to break 70K for us to break that macro downtrend. Whereas if it would actually come down, set a lower low, and then set a nice tighter lower low, something like that, that's a significantly less risky entry, and that would be enough for me to flip short-term bullish as well. Invalidation below this, but at least at that point you ended up breaking some sort of lower high structure, something that we have not done since, like I said, since March, and everyone's screaming that the bottom's in, and there's absolutely zero supporting that theory in the charts at this point. So I'm more of a fan of trading the charts for what's actually there rather than saying, well, this might be there later. Yeah, we might break resistance, but we haven't. So that's kind of my rant. How are you all feeling about the market? Do you think I'm way out to lunch? Do you think I'm actually pretty spot on with my theories? Do you think I'm a dick for suggesting it? I personally think right now, oh yeah, there was something I wanted to talk about as far as a short-term bounce right now. Since on the 4-hour chart here, we did sweep that low. We set a lower low here. I'm willing to look at this potential opportunity, right? Basically chasing the price with a super fib since we broke that structure. This was our low, set a lower low. So I'm pulling the Fibonacci from the highest point between the low and the lower low. So this is considered my lower high, but that's only in this trend, right? That is not the macro trend. That is not a macro higher high. This is not a macro lower low. This is a smaller range inside a bigger range. So for what it is, for this downtrend here, This would be the lower high structure that I'd be looking for, and that's why I have my Fibonacci pulled there. So that's why I say, you know, I'm happy that I'm hedged long, just in case this is just a sweep of the lows followed by a retrace. But I'm by no means bullish at this point. I'd be more so looking at something like that. Honestly, that would just be the range target though, right? I'm more expecting something like much larger, because I just think that there's a big nuke looming with this weekly chart looking the way it does. I don't think we'll go straight to 28K. Don't get me wrong. I think there will be bounces along the way, but just the fact that we got that perfect Stuber fib rejection on the weekly 3 times in a row. I just see no reason why this swing would be any different than the swing before here, which was no different than the swing before here. Each one set a lower low. And my thing is, if we've set this many lower lows already, at what point do we get an actual breakout, right? Everybody thinks this is such a massive crash that we've had. When you look out at the weekly like this, we're basically ranging. Yes, it's a series of lower lows, but we're barely sweeping those lows. There's been no breakout. There's been no capitulation. And in my opinion, I think we're going to see a capitulation event before the bull market carries on to all-time highs. But again, happy to be wrong. I would love to be a moon boy again. All Bitcoin has to do is break a little structure, and it just can't do it. I want to start looking at some shorter time frames in case I want to enter some scalps on a shorter time frame. Or, sorry, on another account. I'm only half listening to myself here. I wouldn't mind getting myself into a 3rd or a 4th position. Ideally, I would like to see... technically, we might be starting a little downtrend here. Just trying to find some sort of a trend line. Anything that looks reasonable. That does have some touch points. You know, we got this respected here, even with a higher low pivotal point, even respected it here, and then came and flipped down below it. That's a potential short opportunity. Tight invalidation, basically, if we end up just going to the upside and breaking back above that line. Yeah, let's just see what happens. I'm not taking another short just because I'm totally going to get sidetracked if I'm talking with you guys and everything, and I'm already in 2 nice positions. I don't want to start over trading here. Sorry, I'm just kind of trying to catch up on some chat here, but we're just going to basically babysit the 1 minute here a little bit anyways. I just want to kind of see how it plays out for the next little bit, because this volatility has been absolutely crazy. I think that the bulls are basically starting to run out of time. I think this bounce is going to be short-lived. I think we're still extremely bearish. If we end up breaking this, because just on this immediate trend here, that would be on the very immediate trend. That would be our lower high around 61.2K. If we break back above that, then I think it's quite likely we retest these Stuber fibs. But at this point, I don't know. If anything, I mean, like I was talking about earlier, every one of these sell-offs after the Stuber fib rejection has been getting more and more aggressive. I don't know how much time the bulls have here. I know everybody is desperate to FOMO long a bottom and try and catch all-time highs. I personally, I have FOMO for a big short right now. I am much quicker to pull the trigger on shorts right now. My shorts are larger. I let them run longer. I still play the long side on the bounces when I think they're reasonable, but I'm way quicker to be taking profits, updating stops, and like I said, they're just smaller in general because I have no faith in the bulls right now. Super easy to change my mind. They just haven't done it for a few months is all. All right, catching up on some chat here. Johnny555, which of my vids is best for my indicator setup at the moment? I haven't done a new one in a little while. Maybe I should do that soon. I'll let you know if I do. Honestly, with fibs, I don't know. It's hard for me to remember because I talk about them so much that it's more of just over and over. I'm showing examples of kind of how I look at the structure of the fibs. I don't know if I've got a specific video dedicated. I was going to do it for my mentorship, but I kind of like being on my own schedule, so I haven't been taking on new mentorships or anything like that. So I'm thinking I might just make a Stuber fib video, but I don't know. We'll see. Kind of defeats the purpose of me doing these streams. I like having you guys with me. One last hurrah to the 886, which would be around 67k. Yeah, even 67.5. That's possible. Honestly, if we get back up into that fib pocket again, I think that would be showing a little bit of strength. I would actually start to be a little bit cautious on my shorts, actually, which I know that sounds weird for me, but just because we already got this reaction from that fib pocket, I don't really want to revisit it, especially after we've gone so long. Had we gone like this, came down like this, and then retested it right away, yeah, absolutely. But the fact that, we've actually broken this structure to the downside here, and we've started a downtrend. So if we get back up there, we've actually broken that downtrend, and it would just look like, there's a better chance at us breaking resistance if that happens. I really don't want to see us get back above basically 64.5k, but if we do go a little higher, it is fine. But that's more so the level at this time that I don't really want to see us go much higher than. The resistance would still be resistance. It's just that I would start to question its strength at that point if we never got just absolutely nuked from the first rejection. I just kind of expect that after that, we're going to set lower lows. But I mean, we'll have to see what happens, right? Rocket feeling super neutral on the market right now. A nuke would be a gift, though. And see, that's the thing, right? Everybody wants to call me a perma bear and say that I'm wrong because I'm hitting them in the feels when they want their lottery ticket to go. I want that target, yes, I want it because I would be in some juicy shorts, and yes, I love making money to the downside. It has a special feel to it, and it usually happens way faster. I love playing the downside. The thing is, though, I'm very, very bullish on crypto. I use it every day. I trade it every day. I talk about it every day. I don't shut the fuck up about it every day. I would love to buy those levels. And that's the thing. If we break this structure, like there's a lot of what ifs, right, guys? But if, a big fat if, we drop that 40k level of support, I will instantly be setting spot orders for basically everywhere between $30,000 and $20,000. I don't expect them all to fill, but I'm going to have buy orders absolutely everywhere. Every $100 or whatever. I'm just going to have buy orders because I think that if we get down to this level, that's going to be that final panic flush where everyone's going to get super bearish right at the super fib support, just like they always do. They're going to start selling into support. The media is going to say it's going to zero. Bitcoin will have died for the 469th time. But at the end of the day, it's just doing what it does on every time frame if that happens. And I am so bullish on crypto that I will be loading up in this zone if we get it. That's the thing. Nobody wants that to happen because everybody is max allocation already. Everybody is so sure that we have a free ride with October that it is turning into Rectober, and we're going, in my opinion, we're on a very dangerous path to much, much lower prices. But again, we get down to those levels, I am going to be scooping up every little bit of spot that I can. Not financial advice because anything can happen, but that's my risk tolerance. I will have those orders set because I don't think we get there and have time to start screwing around, moving money around, and getting into those positions once things look bullish. Because I remember I was watching the price when this happened, okay? This looks like it happened over 2 weeks. This price action, if I remember correctly, happened in about 45 minutes. So when it looks like you would have 2 weeks to be accumulating in that range, I remember that was a Sunday night, so it was when the weekly close happened, and that's why it looks like 2 weeks. As soon as that happened, we got bought right back up, and Bitcoin pumped something like 40% very quickly. What was it? Yeah, 40% very quickly. I remember watching it from the couch and just wondering, oh, God, here we go, kind of a thing. And that's where I started flipping bullish again. And that's kind of what I would expect to see if we got that black swan sell-off capitulation. Again, not saying we get it, but if we start losing, the only other support on this trend, I will have orders set because I don't think I'll catch it otherwise. And really, if we lose this support, I understand there's going to be a strong reaction there. If we lose it, though, after a bounce, understand that there is basically no ranging in this level. We went straight to the upside. There's zero consolidation. It's just straight up. So the opposite end, it's most likely going to be straight down. If, right? Big if. Understand that nothing has to happen. I can be very wrong about this. All that matters is execution. It's things that I'm looking for, and if they happen, I'm going to be shorting heavily, and I'm going to be scooping up spot heavily. So yes, bearish on price and bearish on crypto are two different things. Like I said, I still hold most of my spot portfolio just in case I'm wrong. It's really just my trading bias that has changed. I want to be able to make money to the downside, and people can't detach themselves from that emotional side of things. Kevin, I'm here because you respect my opinion. Oh, thanks. One of the few. Your humble opinion, we rose too fast. A ton of FVGs below us, so why not? Yeah, the thing is, we always rise too fast in a bull market, right? That's kind of the thing, guys. To say this wasn't parabolic is not true. I mean, a lot of people wanted a much bigger parabola, yes, but understand every market cycle does get smaller. I don't think the top is in, but understand that it absolutely could be. Notice what happened after we ended up breaking structure after going oversold, or overbought rather. We've already done the overbought part, and now we're starting to break structure to the downside. So just understand that the market doesn't give a shit about our opinion, and anything can happen. Right? No matter how sure you are about any sort of trade setup, any sort of trade theory, understand what worst case scenario is. That's all it comes down to, really, is just understand, have a backup plan. That's why I always say reaction over prediction every day of the week. We're starting to retest that trend line. So, technically might be a short opportunity here. I just don't know if I'm willing to. I'd have to load up another device and get it open. Yeah, I'm not going to have time. But potential setup with a nice tight invalidation, right? Because basically, yeah, like $100 stop loss, basically. I personally think that if we flip this into support, then yeah, we might go a little bit higher, because I want to look at the 1 hour. Something that caught my eye right before we started the stream, and when I was talking about there was a potential re-short entry kind of a thing, actually very close to where my entry currently is. On the 1 hour, technically we have our lower low, here's our lower high, pull a Stuber Fibonacci from that level. Just had to delete that to make it more accurate. Yeah, you know, I would be looking for potential resistance in this range from about 60,780 up to 61,025, basically. That's the Blofin chart. And then obviously the top of that range is actually closer to 61.3K. After that, I think it's much more likely that we would end up going above 63K at that point and testing more closer to the top of this range. But as it stands right now, yeah, I see reasons why we could climb a little bit more, but I still can't bring myself to be bullish. Yeah, the setup up to 67.7K, that 886. Yeah, it's still a valid short setup. You know, nice tight invalidation. It would still technically be, you know, within the range, still a possible lower high kind of a thing. Just a little bit less strength shown from the bears if that happens is all. Yeah, if we hold 54 and then clear 66, it would be looking okay. Yes, but the lower high is still at 70, right? Pretty spot on, but Chaos would like to add a caveat to what I said. This time is not different. Well, BlackRock being involved does give a level of some reassurance that there is a price point that could be protected, their entry levels. I was looking for their SFP higher around the swing fail pattern higher around 68K or a drop to 57K for a decent bounce. Now seeing a 57K more probable. Not sure if that will play out due to front running of sort. And see, again, I agree that, you know, BlackRock being involved, it is different, but, you know, BlackRock, ETFs, everything. But hedge funds getting involved last cycle was also different, right? And they also would have had their levels protected. Yeah, so basically every cycle has their own type of players and their own new wave of money that comes in. But just look at how many times we have tested a macro 786, right? Like there was significantly more money in this market cycle up here at, you know, 69,000 or wherever we topped out. Significantly more money involved at that level when compared to 1,200 down here. But we still end up getting that same type of move, right? And obviously some of those are full market cycle moves. But like I said, the COVID crash, every time we get the buy or sell signals on the MDX ALGO master indicator, I just feel like every market cycle is different, but the structure is still kind of, well, the structure is what it is, right? So yeah, if they defend their levels and then they break the bearish structure, that's when our opinion changes, right? Looking for a lower time frame long bounce. I can try and find something here. Oh, this is the one. The lower time frame long bounce setup that I would be looking at right now would be maybe if we get this kind of a Stuber fib down around 59.2K down towards 59K. But if we do end up dropping there, I mean, yes, it would be a valid Stuber play, but with the longer time frames looking the way they do, especially with that weekly, it just looks like there's going to be such a hard rejection any day. I've been saying for a few days now, actually this whole week, I was telling quite a few people personally and in the chat and stuff that I really expect the big rejection to start this week or next week. We're going to have to see. I just feel like a very big move is on the horizon, and I really don't think it's going to be the upside. But The thing is, guys, even if I disagree with you, let's say you're very bullish, I'm very bearish, understand that we can both still make money trading. We can also both lose money trading. It doesn't matter if what our bias is if we have a good execution plan. Because that's really all that matters, is just having those invalidation levels, your take profit levels, your entry levels, and having some sort of a system in place where even when you lose, you're taking controlled losses. But the direction doesn't matter, right? If somebody's longing all the dips on the way down, let's say I had that great swing position to the downside all day. Somebody could have been playing every little micro bounce and outperforming me, right? It all depends on everyone's own personal trading strategies. We could have the exact same indicators, trend lines, Fibonacci's pulled, absolutely everything, and I guarantee we'd still trade the market completely different. So whatever works for you works for you. I'm really just showing you how I go about the markets, how I look at structure, how I use the indicators, how I pull Fibonacci's and all that sort of stuff. And hopefully, I just really aim to be one of those people that hopefully I say something that, like, still, even if you see that, hey, Stu nailed those trades, he really knows how to trade those Stuber fibs, I'm going to trade those Stuber fibs and be just like Stu. Understand that we might be looking at things slightly different. I might have things that, hey, if I'm trading one on a 5-minute and all of a sudden structure changes on the 1 minute, I'm going to be changing my position around, whether it's closing some of it, closing all of it, updating stop losses. There's different ways. Again, the reaction over prediction type of thing. So whenever you're trading any trading strategy, you should always be using this replay feature on TradingView, in my opinion. Going back, doing a bunch of back testing, finding what catches your eye, because I see Stuber fibs everywhere. I can see basically dozens of them on this page right now. And honestly, when I'm looking at buildings and trees and shit, and clouds, I see Stuber fibs. Like, I see them everywhere because my eye is drawn to them now because I've spent so many months staring at them. But to each their own, right? Everyone has their own trading strategies that work for them. I just hope that at some point I say something and maybe you really are drawn to them as well, and then it works out for you. Great. I've seen a lot of people in the chat having great success with it. I absolutely love to see that, you guys. But understand that I also lose trades. I'm not a perfect trader. It's just about controlling your losses when they happen, right? But yeah, everyone has their own trading strategies that work for them. So I just hope that I'm the person who says something that just makes something click, even with your own strategies. Just, you never know, right? Often all it takes is somebody says something or just one minor tweak to your own trading strategy that totally is a game changer. And that's what I really hope to be. What do I think the market would do if aliens made themselves known? I don't know. I think the market would probably be one of those black swan events where the market would panic for some reason, as if it mattered. And that's just my opinion. But again, I would only trade with something like that fundamentally happening, going with the charts, right? Same with I kind of follow along when FOMC meetings are, CPI, all that, unemployment numbers. I kind of keep track of when they're going to be, but I still I try to ignore even hearing what happens. I just want to know that the market's going to get volatile and probably get a Darth Maul candle. But other than that, I still won't assume that I understand how those numbers are for sure going to affect the market, unless the market decides we're moving this direction now, we start setting higher highs, higher lows, or lower lows, lower highs. Then I know which way to be trading. It doesn't matter what fundamentals are, because if it matters, if it is going to affect the price, then the price is going to show it in the charts. But yes, I do feel like if aliens made themselves known, we would probably nuke. I'd be excited though. PPI tomorrow. Daily close. Oh yeah, 10 minutes ago. Hey, Yeah, not terrible because it's not below these wicks here, but I wouldn't say it's great because the wicks are lower than the wicks and the daily close is lower than these closes. So could be worse, but could be a lot better. Oh, I probably just accidentally erased that trend line, by the way. Still trying to climb, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll get back above that. Long short, 64%. The 5 minutes, 67.7%. Yeah, so everybody's starting to really trying to FOMO long this dip as well. So as long as the longs start climbing or keep climbing as they FOMO in as we go higher, that's just going to be more fuel to the downside, in my opinion. You think higher before we get the big crash? Yeah, and that's absolutely possible too, right? The longer time frame and the midterm time frame, I'm very bearish, but the short term, anything can happen, right? The market doesn't go one direction. Yeah, a lot of liquidity above. Yeah, absolutely possible. My only thing is, generally speaking, when the bears start setting a trend and when they confirm their rejection levels, the bears tend to act fairly fast quite often. So with this weekly, I don't see this weekly turning green. I feel like at the start of the week when everyone was celebrating that we were going to all-time highs because we were retracing this one candle a little bit, every single time frame basically does this on every chart. It would be it's weird when candles don't wick into the previous one at all. So I mean, that move to the upside was nothing more than a retest in my opinion. And so at this point, I don't know, just that rejection on the weekly like that with so many lower lows here, it could get ugly. It could get ugly fast. I want to bring up, what was it, the 4 hour. Accidentally deleted it, I think. There we go. I want to double check what that ALGO master indicator was going. Oh, I even noticed we kind of got very close to that sell line before we came down a little more. Even the fact that the candle closed basically right at this wick here, I don't know, it just looks to me like even with this structure, I mean, there is some room, obviously this is the lower high there, but it looks weak. The close below these wicks looks excessively weak there. I mean, that's a structure break, that's a lower low on this trend, so lower high. That, well, I guess now this is our new lower low, right? So between those yellow lines is basically the range on the 4 hour that we're currently in. But again, the macro 4 hour range is much larger. The reason I haven't changed this fib at all is just because, like I said earlier, the 70K lower high has not been broken. The 49K low has not been broken. So that range is still intact. Everything in here is just smaller ranges inside this bigger macro range. Do I know anyone who has really mapped psychologies to these patterns? Like what is actually happening during a head and shoulders or a falling wedge, and what causes people with no knowledge of fibs to trade along the fibs? As far as I know, Fibonacci's are just kind of, they basically map out emotions in general. So they've always been a thing. Apparently they map out basically everything. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to understand how it works or even with trade. I feel like a lot of it with trade patterns as well as Fibonacci's does kind of turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if everyone's looking for it, then they're going to start trading that. But no, I don't know anyone who's really like dove into the psychology of it. At the end of the day, I feel like whenever we're going near resistance, it looks bullish, so people FOMO into resistance. And when we're going down to support, things look bearish and scary, so people short into support. That's really what it comes down to for me. Because how it looks and, before a reversal is significantly different than before that reversal, right? Yeah, there's a good explanation for you in the charts or in the chat there. Thanks, Zeus. Still really hugging that line. So technically invalidation's kind of climbing here. I would probably give it some wiggle room if I was in a short there, but it might just keep climbing, right? Because it is still technically setting higher highs here. It broke the diagonal trend line, and I think that's a fairly decent trend line. It is still a nice tight invalidation, and I do expect this support to flip into resistance. It's just so far, it's just climbing along it. Yeah, because we live in a simulation. I hope so. Unplug it now. Yeah, I'm over it. It'll get unplugged right when I win the biggest trade of my life and just totally change everyone's life around me, and then game over. Game over. User wins. Anyone reboot? Anyone? Or am I just old? Yeah, blue screen of death. Just freeze there forever. Yeah, reboot the CGI cartoon. Exactly. Bob and Dot and Fong and Enzo. The boys. And girls. Great show. That's us. We're the users. um... You guys, I have some stuff that I want to get done around the house yet tonight, so I think I'm going to leave it there. You know my thoughts at this point anyways. I don't want to drag it on too long. Like I said, I think there's potential for rejection anytime here, but if we break back above that line, I think we're going back to the top of this range, which would line up with that hourly range I had pointed out. Like I said, if we end up bouncing, I mean, this is the 4-hour range that I'm watching, basically from where we've bottomed currently, around 50, what was it, 58.9K up towards 64.4. But even if we break those levels, understand that Bitcoin is not out of the woods. No matter how you look at it, Bitcoin has a lot of work to do. It needs to start breaking bearish structure because it's something that it hasn't done in over 8 months. Shorter time frames, yes, it has, but even the 4-hour has not changed this macro trend, and I think that's very important. I think the reason why so many people across social media, so many influencers are flip-flopping all over the place every single time Bitcoin moves, I think a big reason for that is because they are assuming that these structures are confirmed structure breaks, which yes, in the shorter time frame they are, but the macro time frame there has not been a bullish structure break, and I think a lot of people are overlooking that because here it is laid out very, very clearly. Lower lows and lower highs. There's no room for interpretation there as far as that trend goes. That is fact. That's not bias. That is a series of lower lows and lower highs. And anybody who took a course on day one technical analysis would say that a series of lower lows and lower highs is a downtrend. You're also told day one, the trend is your friend until the end. Yet everybody forgets that and wants to be a moon boy. So just understand that, yes, I could be very wrong. And if we change that structure, I will change my tune. I'm open to the idea of playing long bounces, but understand I'm just personally bearish, and I will be until something changes. It just hasn't changed yet, so neither has my opinion. Unlike, some of your favorite Twitter people, unfortunately, that are flip-flopping all the time or stuck in moon boy mode of we are going so much effing higher. All-time highs are around the corner. As soon as there's a drop, it's, oh, this bullish thing showed up in the charts. Then it drops again. This bullish thing drops again. This bullish thing. They're really grasping at anything to hold that bias. And just be aware of that, right? So just because somebody has a lot of money or whatever doesn't necessarily, or has a lot of followers, doesn't necessarily mean that they are traders. Yes, a lot of them are. But a lot of people got lucky or make money elsewhere, right? So just understand that anything can happen. Anybody who is saying for certain they know what is exactly going to happen, I don't give too much credit to those people, as I mentioned earlier, because the market does not give a shit what we think. All that matters is whatever the market throws at us, we react. We take the easy wins where it's a high probability setup where it looks like you can catch a few percent in a swing or whatever. And other than that, you're just playing the market for what it is. If you're a chart person and a trader, anyways, investing and trading are two very different things. Like I said, I still hold most of my investment. It's just that my trading strategy has gone to the downside heavily. The direction I'm trading has heavily gone to the downside just because of the charts. But again, as the investment side of it, I'm totally okay riding out that massive dump that I think is coming, just in case it doesn't. So I am protected if we go to the upside. So when moon boys start laughing, haha, you were wrong. Okay, fine, but I made a bunch of money and I was able to accumulate more on the way down, even though I was wrong. I'm fine with that. I don't care. The Rapture is actually just the system resetting and all the buggy characters will be gone. Yeah, and it'll be like they never existed. Won't even remember. The more BTC goes down, the more time we get, and I think it's a good thing as I stack the sats before the big bada boom. Exactly, right? That's the thing. Like I was saying earlier, just because I'm bearish on the price and I'm trading the downside right now does not mean I'm bearish on crypto. I love the fact that we're getting more accumulation time. I still don't think we're in an accumulation range yet, but that doesn't mean I'm not accumulating, right? Rocket's gonna bullpost now just to piss me off. Good. I'll be sure to check it out. You're entertaining on there. I like following you. Yeah, you're... Look, yeah, so Zeus, I was looking at that as basically a safe short-term bearish target. The thing with that swing is, again, I don't actually consider the top of that the macro higher high is all. So I would say, yes, that would be basically my first target. I made a video about that the other day, that I think it's absolutely possible if we are going to flip bullish, or really even if we're not. Wouldn't be too unlikely to find some sort of reaction at that 786, 886. It's not an actual Stuber fib because we haven't broke the full range, but yeah, I mean, like I said, that is basically my first target, but that doesn't mean I'm bullish at that level. I guess that's the difference, right? I'm looking at it as a buy level in the way of, yes, I will take profits on some of my short, but I might hedge along too, right? I mean, right now I'm in a hedge long. I might take one there if it lines up on a shorter time frame, whatever, sure. But as far as the macro, I don't think that'll be our bottom. Just a gut feeling. But yes, I agree that that's a potential range for sure. I would actually be surprised if this move does not go down to at least this 786, which I'd call it 55.8k even, just to front run it a little bit. I really see no reason at this point with the structure we have, the rejection we have, absolutely everything. I just don't really see a reason why we'd stop now before the Stuber fib. It always feels like it should, but we always, I shouldn't say always, we get there quite often. If we don't, I won't catch it. If we front run it, I'm probably, well, I guess I shouldn't say that again. It depends on the shorter time frame, but yeah. Bearish target and being bullish, two different things. Oh, we are starting to reject off that line, looks like. Did anyone take the short off that? Just curious. So not everyone's into diagonal trend lines. I totally get that. I like horizontal structure a lot more myself. But I do still like to look at diagonal trend lines once in a while. Specifically, I need to see at least 3 touch points before a break of it to consider it serious, especially on a shorter time frame like this. So I'm considering that 1 touch point, 2 touch point, 3 touch point, and then respecting it from the bottom side. So yeah, it made sense that could flip from support into resistance. But like I said, I never took the new short there, but curious if anyone else did. Shorting ETH, nice, nice. Rejected off the VWAP level. That's something I never bring up. I should really start using that more. ETH, let's take a look at ETH. Why not? I'm gonna look at it on Binance just because I feel like there's probably the most data there. Or actually, no. Johnny, what exchange are you on? I'll bring up the chart you're on. Ooh, BitMEX. OG. Does it still get server overload all the time? Yeah, Rocket. Evergrow, right? I'm going to. Just kidding. And that's also different, right? I mean, I don't know. What is the market cap of it anyways? Obviously, like, just because TA looks like shit doesn't mean that a project is shit, because at the end of the day, if Bitcoin is getting hammered, altcoins are going to get hammered, right? That's something that we need to understand right now. If, big if, Bitcoin gets down to these levels, which would be another 50% dump to the downside from current levels, if Bitcoin drops 50%, in my opinion, most altcoins are getting hammered 80 to 90%. So just, you know, yes, not everybody wants to hear that. It hurts a lot of people to hear that. But the opportunities that come with that, you guys, crazy opportunities. Market caps will be so small. Any lower time frame target in mind if that rejection continues on Bitcoin? I mean, like I said, it could run all the way down to some sort of a Stuber fib. If that is going to be the reversal of this 1 minute trend, I'd be looking at down around 59 too. But really, since this wasn't really based off a Stuber fib or anything, so I don't have a smaller range to pull, basically when I start getting into a decent profit, I just start taking a little bit of profit, like my first quarter, pretty quickly. One thing I would be looking for is if we basically break a 1 minute lower high, I would also consider starting to take some profits. Like, let's say we do something like that, and all of a sudden we get that, we've actually broke some structure, right? So in that case, I'd be looking at taking some profits, updating stop loss, that sort of thing. Of course, it's possible we just get one of these and you don't get that opportunity. But that's one thing that I do in pretty much every one of my positions. If I end up in a position and we set a series of lower lows and lower highs, but then we end up breaking a lower high, even on the 1 minute, I start downsizing my position just because, hey, it's a warning that something might happen. Basically, when I get into a position, I am looking for reasons to start paying myself and reducing risk. That's a part of me being more so a scalper than a swing trader. Trading the 1 minute, you can't really expect a 4-hour type of a move. That's all there is to it. If you're entering on a 1 minute, you should be taking profits on a 1 minute. Honestly, even when I'm entering on a 5 minute, I start taking profits based on the 1 minute. I like to downsize my chart if I can, or downsize my time frame, just to find any early warning signs. That's just me personally, but that's kind of how I do it. We have this sell signal with the ALGO master. We are technically, at the bottom of these bands here. We got this demand zone, so technically, we might even be at support now, but we do have this sell signal, still trending to the upside. We still have higher buys and higher sells, so that is a little bit of a red flag. Does look a little bit weak, as it looks like we're kind of rounding, but we obviously haven't yet. So just a few things to be cautious of, right? Maybe we get something like that is possible. Actually, that's quite possible. But we'll see. Please drop alt hammer. Yeah, I agree. I would love to see those lower prices that I'm talking about. Honestly, the one reason why I don't think we'll get this is because I don't think I'm lucky enough. Everyone's looking at this as being terrified of it. I just don't think I'd be lucky enough to get that. But it's looking more and more likely, in my opinion. Back to that Ethereum chart. What time frame were you looking at, Johnny? Like the 1 minute, kind of like same as Bitcoin? There is potential it's finding support at a Stuber fib. Like I said, I see them everywhere now. That one never quite got hit. Actually, technically, this is a Stuber fib. That is a valid Stuber fib. Because technically, this very small market structure break, this is what I was talking about on like the weekly. That would be awesome to see if we set new lows. As we set lower lows and lower highs, if you got this kind of a structure set up on the weekly chart, where I know it seems like microanalyzing, but as far as market structure, yes, it is microanalyzing, but it's your first sign that things are reversing, is that you technically have this low here. We got a green little bounce here, followed by breaking down below that level and setting a lower low. So at that point, this was our very immediate lower high. That is such a tight invalidation to end up getting into a long position. That's where I would love to see Bitcoin drop further on the weekly chart and then do something like that, or even the 4-hour chart, like I was saying earlier. We have to drop out of the macro range before I'll consider that. If it does it right here, I don't care. It's more, I want to see the macro trend get something like that. In that case, here, actually, let me make that more obvious. And I'd also rather have it set a couple of lower lows, lower highs. But if we get something nice and tight like that, just like what I just showed on Ethereum, that would be a lovely setup, because even if it fails, your invalidation is so tight. I would love to see that, and I think everybody is scared of the market going to the downside when they could get such a nice, low risk opportunity on something like that, but nobody wants to be patient and wait for it. I think that would be just phenomenal. Obviously, it doesn't have to happen the same, but that would be a fantastic setup, in my opinion. Technically a lower sell signal. I don't look at Ethereum very much anymore, to be honest. Some liquidations to the upside. Yeah, I mean, that is a valid bullish Stuber fib setup, but I just can't be too bullish on the market is all. I will look at Sol in a minute, but Rocket, your comment just made me laugh. I don't know the difference between a Stuber fib and a regular fib, and I have been too afraid to ask. You know what? That's totally fair. And here's a very simple explanation for you. If we have, let me try and do it properly first. If we have a downtrend, something like this. So we have a series of lower lows and lower highs. If the price breaks that structure and then comes back to the 786, 886, that's when I consider it a Stuber fib. See how accurately you can just eyeball them now? If we got something like this is our lower high resistance here, let's just say that's where we topped out, or somewhere in here or whatever, anywhere below that level, there's not an actual lower high structure break. So in that point, I'm just looking at it as a regular 786, 886. Quite often they act the same. It's just that you don't have, the way I look at it anyways, is you don't have that structure break backing up the theory that the trend has changed. So it's a very minor difference, and it looks very similar, but it's actually a very different setup. Hopefully that clears it up. Solana. I am going to look at it on the Blofin chart because I am also interested in Solana. Solana on the 1 minute. Interesting. Possible bearish Stuber setup on the 1 minute right now. Because we had this structure break. Again, we have a structure break, right? Because we had this high, higher low. We broke that, so then we're pulling back to the Stuber fib. Again, not every trade setup's going to work out. They don't always play out. but at least it's a nice tight invalidation rather than FOMOing into a short down here, right? You're waiting for that pullback after the structure break. Yeah, so that's actually one reason. Quite often I'll see people say like, "Oh, hey, here's a Stuber fib," and I'll be like, "Not quite." Sometimes it's very close, but sometimes there's just something very slightly different. Just a personal bias or personal trade setup. I just like to see that structure break before that pullback rather than just the pullback with no structure break. Less of a less of a probability of getting beyond your first take profit, right? Whereas if there's that structure break, there's at least the opportunity that, there's a good chance it's going to go further into the swing and possibly hit that full swing Stuber setup kind of a thing. So that's just why I prefer them with the structure break. So basically, when I enter a Stuber setup, should I take a short here? I'll take a little Solana short. Why not? I'm in 2 juicy Bitcoin positions. Let's start over trading here. If I can get there in time, come on. I'm only starting with a quarter of my position. Because I scale in as we get closer to my invalidation. Okay, I got in at 139.31 so far. I am going to set, so I got in a little late, so not quite at the 786. I'm going to put another 25% in just below the 886. So 139. 139.49. And then half my position will be right around the double top, 139.59. And my invalidation will be 139.73. And basically, if we hit my range target before the other ones are filled, I am going to close half of my position. And so, I better get that order ready. It's going to be at 139.05. It'll be half of my position. If I get my other entries, then I'm going to adjust the size of that take profit. If we hit my take profit before my laddered entries, then I will be canceling those other orders, updating my stop loss to break even. Because you know what? At that point, I've hit the scalp target. Hopefully catch a bigger run, but not really banking on it because whatever, this is just a last minute scalp I decided to take, right? How do I play a 618? Honestly, I don't really pay attention to the 618 all too much anymore. 4 hour, you say? Ooh, on the 4 hour, there's actually a bullish Stuber fib there. That. Ooh. Interesting. Well, I'm glad that we have a tight invalidation because that could absolutely gain some momentum. But that's why I love these Fibonacci pulls, right? Because like if I hit all my entries, had the first one been at the 786 like I usually intend to do, I mean, my average entry probably would have ended up somewhere up here. So that's such a tight invalidation if it happens, rather than, like I said, people who are FOMOing into a short on the run to the downside like that. Obviously, there's a much larger loss if you're looking at proper invalidation levels, right? 139.05 is the number. But yeah, so like I said, when I do a Stuber entry, I always ladder in entries, just like when I take profits, right? I ladder into positions, I ladder out of positions. I'm never all in here, all out here kind of a person, because I like to reduce my risk by splitting my order up. That is not to say I'm doubling down, quadrupling down on my position. It means I have an order in mind and I've split it up, you know, a quarter, a half, getting heavier as I go up, just so that I really help pull my average entry up. That way, if I get stopped out, it's a lot softer of a blow than if I got stopped out on the entire position from here, because my average entry would be closer to the 886. That being said, when you say how would I play a 618 on a trend line, I mean, in that case, since it matches up with the trend line, I would at least consider it. I have a certain way of looking at trend lines, I guess. I want to see the third touch point, and I like my touch points exact. But if I was taking a trade off of the trend line, I'd want to see that little liquidity grab or swing fail of it, just like a horizontal level kind of a thing. So I want to see how a trend line's reacted with before taking that blind order. How is Blofin on fees and slippage? I do think that their fees are higher than a lot of other exchanges I've used, but it's been very nice to use as well. Like, it's very user friendly. It just seems to work good. But yes, when, especially with like forced stop losses and market orders, I have noticed that the fees are a little higher, especially when if you're used to trading on like MEXC, for example. Their fees are so low that, yeah, you notice a difference for sure. Like with my affiliate link, if you sign up using mine, I have the cashback on fees maxed out, so you get 20% of your trading fees back. So that helps soften the blow. But yeah, with limit orders, like, I don't know. I've been trading on Blofin for a couple of months, or 3 or 4 months now at this point, and I really like it. But yeah, the fees are a little higher than like MEXC, for example. Yeah, MEXC ruined you just marketing into trades. Oh, I hear you, 100%. I traded on MEXC for a good year or two as well. I don't know if we're gonna get that whole move back down to the downside here. We'll see. Yeah, Bybit user interface, but fees are a bit high indeed. But you know what? It is no KYC, and again, with the cashback on trading fees, that definitely, well, it basically makes up for it in my opinion. If not even a little ahead, you just have to understand that you're getting it back in a few hours, kind of a thing. But yeah, I've never had, there's been other exchanges where I have had liquidity issues, like where I've talked about this before, where I've had my stop loss on an altcoin in a profit and end up getting liquidated on the position instead, just because there was crazy slippage and stuff like that. I've never had anything like that happen with Blofin. I've never had any issues with them, basically. And like I said, no KYC. That's kind of my main thing. This makes it easier. And they give out cool promotions once in a while. And like anyone using my link, it's not just when you sign up during the promotion, it's even if you're already signed up, you get the promotion when they come around, which is cool of them to do that way. So yeah, I've been using them every day for 4 months now or whatever it is. Yeah, I miss Bybit too. Bybit was a great exchange. Just yeah, in Canada they're pretty frowny about it. Got kicked off KuCoin, so looking for a new home. Yeah, that's basically it, right? Like I know a lot of Americans and Canadians, it's kind of hard to find a place. My link, it's just check out any of my YouTube videos in the description. There will definitely be some links there. Blofin, MDX, ALGO, BingX, etc. Any of my videos, they all have it. If that's something that interests you. Come on, do something. Johnny, it's 2 a.m. Well, thanks for being here anyways. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for coming here. Truly appreciate it. Love doing these streams with you guys. So we'll do it again next week. But yeah, I'm still here for a little bit for the rest of you. Have a good rest of your evening. Or a good sleep. Really struggling right below that 786. I don't like how long it's taking to get a rejection, to be honest. That's a little bit of strength showing, but so here's one of those times with Bitcoin, actually. So I pulled it before this pivot point was printed here. It is still a higher high, so understand that that is a higher risk setup, just being that there is still an uptrend here. But quite often the Fibonacci pulls, whether it's a higher high or a lower high, so often you'll at least hit the range target. Obviously not every time. Don't get stupid. Don't throw risk out the window. But that would basically be a typical setup I'd be looking at with that indicator. We've seen so many of these Stuber fibs playing out lately. Was it yesterday? Yesterday I was in a short from this one. Yeah, basically I was looking at this. Anyways, I took a short there. Bullish Stuber fib right here. This is actually yesterday I shared that live as well when I took a hedge long there. My reasoning was just that, right? Just a typical Stuber fib setup. And the reason it was a Stuber fib setup is because we ended up breaking that lower high, right? Actually, sorry, that's I can microanalyze, and this was technically a low because we bounced there and we did go slightly below it and then broke our structure. So either way, just chasing the price with a Fibonacci, whether you want to look at that level, this level, no matter how you look at it, we did break the lower high on this immediate down nuke. I'll call it a trend, but it isn't more of a nuke. So either way, we broke some structure there and just chasing the price with a Fibonacci. And notice that's exactly where we came back down to, hit the target easily, actually climbed a little more. That was my reasoning for hedging that. And, you know, it played out. I made some money, and then I ended up reshorting because we just, like I said, all those reasons I gave for this level, but then also adding back in on this Stuber fib because we're just seeing them all over the place. Like really even micro-analyzing right down to something like this, right? This would have been a lower high at the time. Look at that, where we end up getting rejected. Downtrend continues. Gonna see Stuber fibs on your drive to work tomorrow. Yeah. Like I said, I see them everywhere now. Like two different sized people, trees, buildings. Like, oh, that guy's a 886 of that guy, or whatever, right? Like you just fucking see it everywhere. It's ridiculous and it's dumb, but it's true. Oh, Bitcoin never even quite hit the 786. I always front run my fibs a little bit. That goes for entries and take profits, just because, you know, it's tough to say if I would have hit that if I was looking for that. I can't tell you if I would have ended up hitting that. It would have been very close. Come on, Soul, keep going. One more push. Don't play hard to get. Come on, someone nuke it for me. Don't use me as liquidity, please. Just a moonshot. God. There it is. And that, my friends, is a successful Stuber fib setup. So I'm canceling those other orders, remember? Because we hit my target, my first target, before hitting those entries, and my stop loss is going to break even on the rest. I mean, really, that's only about a 4% profit anyways. It is a scalp, but I'm hoping the other half of the position runs. You just learned a thing. Magic, hey? And this, my friends, is exactly what my problem is with Bitcoin right now. You see what I'm seeing? People don't want to give it time to play out, but I do it on the 1 minute. I just did it live with you. It doesn't matter what asset, what time frame. Yes, it doesn't always play out, but this is my concern with Bitcoin. The fact that we have seen the exact same thing play out repeatedly on this downtrend. Nothing has changed from that. We keep seeing it. And it's, if you're bullish, to put it nicely, it's fucking terrifying. If you're bearish, it's fucking exciting. With that being said, guys, I think we hopefully found this stream useful. With a live example like that and explanations out the yin-yang on different time frames. I think you get my point here. So, yeah. I think that's about all I wanted to go over. Actually went twice as long as I thought I would tonight, but hey, it is what it is. So hopefully you found this stream useful. If you did, if you wouldn't mind, after it's uploaded here in a couple hours on my YouTube channel. Oh, nice, some new subscribers. Thank you, guys. Yeah, just later, if you appreciated this should be uploaded in a couple of hours. If you could hit that like button and, like I said, subscribe, it would do me a huge favor. As a small channel, like I said, I notice when there's new subscribers. I think 7 of them from this, so thank you so much. Like I said, small channel, I notice each and every comment, like, subscribe, everything. So, and also, guys, if you are new here, I also stream on the Financial Summit sometimes. These thumbnails without the picture of anybody. That one there that I pointed out, these ones, those are all me. So do yourselves a favor, subscribe there as well. There's several different traders on that channel, Tony Vase, a couple others. So yeah, do yourselves a favor, follow them or subscribe to them as well, because otherwise you'll miss a bunch of my live streams. I do this here with you guys in the Discord every Thursday evening, but I also I try to do a couple or 2 or 3 a week on this channel as well. So follow them as well. With that, my friends, anybody watching this on my YouTube channel a little bit later, if these indicators, as well as just being part of the VIP MDX ALGO community, there is that 10% additional discount on in the link down below using my link. And yeah, with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.